So, Will, what is
That's it.
your idea for the purpose of relationships? Like, what
Purpose.
is your standpoint? Like, what is your idea? Like, what do you think the purpose for relationships
The purpose
entail?
of the purpose of relationships for a woman. I mean, a man is to find a woman to procreate with and build his family. Other than that, there's no purpose of a relationship for a man. A
No,
woman.
actually, I was talking about the relationship itself, not the people in it, but with the people in
The
it, if
relationship
that makes sense.
itself. The relationship itself is for servitude.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
that's it. One word shot. That's it.
Yeah,
That's
that's why
it.
I don't like talking to him too much. It's like, okay, yeah, wow. Now what? But you're right. So let me ask you this: what do you think that most people have get wrong where it concerns relationships?
I think people go into relationships trying to see what this person is going to do for them to benefit their life.
Yep.
Didn't I say that
Yep.
earlier?
Yep. Yep.
It's for what I can get out of it
What
as
I can
opposed
get
to
out of
who
it.
I can
Yeah.
become in it. Yeah. Yep. Mm-hmm.
And there's some
So go
reasons.
ahead.
There's reasons for that. There's a lot of reasons for that. Many reasons. One of them, one of them, real quick. A lot of experiences that mothers have gone through, they don't want their daughters to go through. So they teach them certain things. Make
And what's
sure
the
that
outcome? Wait, and the things that they're being taught, what are the outcomes? No, I'm just asking, what is the outcome?
that's kind of like bittersweet sometimes, sweet and sour. Um, the outcome can be good if if that daughter is not so tight. When I say tight, I mean so regimented in her thinking. This is what mama taught me. This is what I'm going after, and nothing. Yeah, nothing less. But like you said earlier, you, though I got a lot of old folk stuff in me, y'all. The old folks said, "Honey will always catch a fly. It'll catch anything that it gets stuck to."
Mm.
So keep your principle. Keep your principle. Keep your standards, but just be a little sweet about it. You ain't got to be a jackass and come off. I said what I said. You know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that it's hard for I think both genders in the dating world today, right? Collectively, right? Um, I will also say that a lot of us are in these relationships um to feel better, without having to do the work to get better.
Mm,
And then this is when we get all of these unrealistic expectations of the other person. I don't think people know what the relationships are for outside of what was said earlier. The self, what can I get? Had nothing to
well,
do with servitude. And it's hard because a lot of guys today, because they were raised by single mothers, they're very, very like feminine. And I don't mean feminine in the way where they're bitching and moaning. I'm simply stating like they're too deep in their own feelings that
okay.
they don't exercise logic. And a leader must
Mm-hmm.
exercise both logic and feelings.
And yeah, yeah, yeah.
Logic is very important. Logic gets you out of stuff. Logic keeps you out of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Feeling keeps you getting into shit.
Yeah.
And
I said,
women today, we want leaders, but a lot of men today are not equipped or qualified to be considered a leader. You cannot protect a woman if she cannot rely on you because you're so damn emotional.
yeah, yeah. Yeah.
You got to learn how to be able to assess.
Well, I disagree with that, Trinity,
Which part?
that women want leaders.
Talk
What do you
about it.
think we want? What do you think we want?
Well, you mentioned it earlier how people are selfish, right? They're not coming to relationships for servitude.
Okay, wives want leaders.
Well, women aren't
And,
wives.
I'm talking about the biblical wife, okay?
Women
We
aren't
want
wives,
leaders.
and they're not being taught to be wives.
Well,
Mm,
wives. No, I'm talking about wife. If that person's a wife in standing, in character, I'm not talking about the spouse
No, no,
paperwork.
no. I
A
know.
wife is a wife,
I said
right? So,
women aren't wives, and they're
but
not being taught to be.
I'm talking about wives. I'm talking
Well,
about how hard it is for wives. I'm
how
not talking
hard it
about
is
for
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 how hard it
for
is for.
women who are wives, standing wives, looking for her husband, right?
Okay, it's not hard. It's not hard for them, Trinity.
Well,
They can find
because
men easy because men find them,
I
and
get what
those
you're
women don't pass on
saying.
them.
Yeah, yeah. So wives need to stop dealing with guys
Well, no,
and
no,
stop.
they got to be no, they got to become wives, Trinity. They're not wives.
No,
They're
wives
portraying to
will
be
not.
wives.
Wives will not deal with guys. Wives will only deal with men. Is what you're getting
Correct.
at. Okay.
How
I
could
no,
you
I
how could you
agree. No,
how could you turn
there's
away
nothing to
from
talk about.
how could you turn away from all the teachings you've had your entire life and end up with a pookie if you were taught to be a wife and you adhere to the teachings of being a wife? How could
So
you end up with a pookie?
okay, so it's your contention that if you weren't taught how to be a wife from a child growing up, there's no room for learning once an adult?
No, it is room for learning, but you know how they say it's easier to teach a boy how to become a man than it is to repair a damaged man.
That's
Same is
yeah,
true
that's
for a
true.
woman.
That's true. That
Same is
yeah,
true for a
yeah.
woman.
Hmm.
It's easier to teach a girl how to become a wife
Than it is
than it is to teach a
teach
hoe how to become a
oh
wife.
damn. Okay. But I agree because it's more like conditioning as opposed to learning, right? So like if I had a little girl, right? Let's say I had no kids. I got married and I got pregnant, had a little girl. Now, my husband is that man and I am a wife. She would see from me how to be a wife through my interactions with my husband, as well as me bringing her into the kitchen and explaining the inner and outer workings of the home and all that stuff. Is that what you're getting at?
Yeah, but I'll use a dude to illustrate my point a little bit more clear.
Okay.
Let's say you got a young boy. His father taught him to become a man. Not only did his father teach him to become a man, the young boy adhered to his father's teachings. What's the likely that boy is going to grow up and become a drug dealer?
Uh, zero. Well,
Exactly.
low to zero. Let's say that.
Exactly. Because, like the Bible says, you train up a child in the way they should go. When they get older, they will not depart from it. Now,
Right,
but
because it's
one
instilled
part,
in them.
well, no, the one part about that I wish the Bible would have touched on is if they adhere to the teaching. Because you could try to teach a kid anything, but if they don't adhere to the teaching, good luck. You're wasting your time. But if they adhere to the teaching, absolutely, that kid will not depart from that because that's all they know. That's all they understand. But see, these girls, these dudes, they're not adhering to the teaching a lot of times, but most times they're not even being taught. So there's nothing to adhere to. They're just existing in a selfish way, trying to get everything they can out of another person. And, and
Wait, they could be adhering to what they were taught, which is why they can't, you know, change how they are. Like being, taught that you gotta, as a woman, you gotta prepare to, provide for yourself in case the guy leaves, right? You hear that, you're gonna adhere to
but
that.
they're not taught that though, Trinity. They're just told that. See, to teach someone something, you actually have to teach
Oh,
it. You can't just say it. Saying it is not teaching.
Oh,
Precept and example.
I like that.
Precept and example. Be thou example of the believers. The idea there is set something before people's eyes that they can see your words in action. I land my plane.
Mic dropped. Crazy. But yeah, okay, I see it. So, damn, so I guess now that I'm thinking about it, we haven't been taught a damn thing.
No, we rarely teach our kids anything.
That's a little
We
depressing.
we tell them. We tell them.
So let me ask you, because I've never had this experience, and I know I never will. How does a man teach a boy how to be a man? Like, what if I'm looking at you and your son, right? What would that like? How would I know you're teaching him how to be a man? Like, what does that look like?
Well, it's just like what you see in school, what you see like, all right, if I'm a mechanic, I can't just talk to somebody and tell them what to do to fix a car. I literally have to get down and show them. If that means I have to get dirty, if that means I have to get oily, muddy, whatever the case may be, I cannot just instruct them on how to do open heart surgery. We have to get a cadaver. We show them, we tell them, and we show them. But see, people aren't showing boys how to be men because they're not men themselves. You
Because we
can't
don't know
show
what it look
someone.
like.
Hell, they ain't around.
That
Hell,
still didn't tell me
some
what
of
it
them
looked
dead.
like. I mean, I get the idea. I get the concept. But
Well,
if
what it
I'm looking out my window and I'm seeing a man teaching his son, preparing his son for manhood, like, how would I know it by looking at it? How would I be able to identify it?
well, you wouldn't know it by looking at it because you don't judge them. You don't judge tutelage by what you're seeing. You judge tutelage over time. You have to watch and see how a
Ah,
person behaves, how they interact, because no one learns in a moment. Kids learn over time. I just look. Let me read something to you.
okay.
Let me read something to you. I just told my homeboy this maybe 3 minutes, 5 minutes before you sent me this live request. That's how. That's how recent this conversation was. I said to him. He sent me a video, and I told him the video was a good presentation. I said, but I disagree. I said, from 0 to 5 years, you're exposing a child to life. 5 to 10 years old, you're disciplining them and teaching them the difference between right and wrong. From 10 to 18 years old, you're coaching them on how to prepare for life and be successful. From 18 plus, you're helping them experimenting, assessing, redirecting, and experiencing some more. 18 plus is a revolving cycle of experiments, assessments, and redirection. However, you're never their friend.